Hey there, friends and enemies, JoPaWrites here again, and I've been really enjoying the First Descendant so far, and wanted to give some feedback on 5 things that I think would massively improve the game over the long haul. Now, I'm not being negative or anything like that, but no game is perfect, and these are some things that I think would absolutely improve my enjoyment of the game overall. This isn't a definitive list by any means, so if there's anything that I did miss, let me know in the comments down below, but for now I'm going to jump right into it. First off, more types of content where support characters can shine. It really feels like the builds for support characters are tuned in a way to make them almost quasi DPS characters where they're never going to shine quite as much as some of the actual DPS characters, and I really feel like the support characters don't have the love in this game that you would like them to have. This is why I don't feel like Luna has been as popular as some of the other characters. There are other characters as well that I feel like Jaber, for example, is very good, but if support characters had more content where they are really, really viable, you would see them shine quite a bit more. Some characters like Bunny and her farming ability, or other characters have specific niches that they can really shine in, and right now it does feel like the support characters don't have that quite as much as I would personally like to see. We are starting to get that with some of the harder Void Intercept Colossi, but overall, until we get something like the Mega Dungeon that is upcoming, right now I feel like support characters are left behind just a little bit. You can absolutely build them to be fantastic overall, but I don't feel like you really feel the support role as much as you would like. Same thing with the tanks, to be honest, just because there's not a lot of content where you have to sustain damage quite as much, especially where you have time limits like in the Void Intercept battle. So that's the reason why I feel like some of these tank support roles don't really get a chance to shine as much as I personally would like them to. Next up, more characters that can infill and do the vaults. If we have additional descendants that can do those infiltration missions besides just Sharon, and also more characters who can do the vaults besides just Enzo, I think that would greatly improve the variety of characters that people are chasing. Right now, when you first start the game, you're pretty much kind of shoved down the path of getting your starting character, getting Bunny for her farming, and then you will get one really good DPS character you're going to build out, and then you're going to get Sharon and Enzo, who you probably won't even build, but just need them for those certain types of missions, because they're absolutely invaluable, because there's no other way to farm some of those amorphous material or use your code breakers and all that kind of good stuff. And so I do hope that in the future we get more characters who can fill those roles, so it doesn't feel like you are forced to get those characters early on in the game in order to maximize your farming ability, or at least have a friend who has those characters who can do it for you. Otherwise, yeah, that's one thing that I think is something that could be hugely beneficial going forward, and I'd imagine that is going to be the case. Maybe you open it up and get more mini games with characters we already have and add additional options like that as well. I think the design of infiltration and the vaults is interesting and something that should be expanded upon, but for now it's a little frustrating where only those 2 characters can do those types of missions. So just a personal preference, and I do hope we see that in the future. Next up, the Battle Pass. Now, I know a lot of people hate Battle Passes in general, and I fully understand that. However, I don't think anyone would say that the First Descendant Battle Pass is all that great. It's not something that anyone is going to go out of their way to buy at this point, knowing what we know now. And if the Season 1 Battle Pass follows the same route, and we get skins for blue weapons that nobody's ever going to use, and a ultimate weapon, yes, it's fully maxed, which is nice, but is pretty much underwhelming at this point, I feel like is going to leave a lot of people frustrated. If you want to encourage them to get the Battle Pass, what is going to be the best way? In my personal opinion, is skins. Skins for the newest characters, skins for the most used characters, all the characters overall, even if they are blue skins or even purple skins ultimately. I think that's something they really need to lean into a little bit more. You want the skins to be in the shop for sure. I'm sure that's something that monetization wise they want to keep there, but overall I absolutely think you need to improve that battle pass if you want anyone to buy it at all. Right now it's so lackluster that I can't recommend it to anybody, and that's something that, as somebody who does not mind farming battle passes and seeing all the new items that you get over the course of the season, it is very, very frustrating, and I hope that is corrected going forward, just because if we see another one like that, I don't think anyone will actually get the Season 1 Battle Pass. Next up is having the white bar bosses at the end of missions drop materials. So I think it's weird that when you're fighting white bar boss, say you're at some of those void missions, the ones where you're going to turn in your amorphous materials, and you fight a yellow bar boss, that one is going to drop you materials that are very useful for crafting descendants as well as weapons. Whereas you have your white bar bosses who will have multiple phases and they don't drop any materials at all. I think that's strange. I hope that's fixed in the future. I don't know the reason behind that. That's a minor thing ultimately for me, but it is something that has bugged me as I've started to farm these more and more often, especially when I'm trying to get some of these amorphous materials done for ultimate descendants and everything like that. So that's just something I absolutely think could be improved upon, and I do hope we see that in the future, just because that would add a layer to farming that I think is a little bit lackluster at times, as it does feel like all the farming is so hyper specific. You got to bounce from location to location to location. Whereas if you have some of these more challenging bosses, maybe you make them a little bit more difficult, but you're rewarded with extra materials, it can feel nicer. And there's a reason that when you're farming things in this game, there are certain places that are going to be better farms than others, whether it's enemy density, whether it's the enemies are easier to kill, whatever the case may be. That can be a little bit frustrating at the end of the day. So I do think that is something that could be improved upon. And then finally, I want to talk about the response to community feedback, and that is something that they need to continue. This is not something brand new. So far, from the very first playtest that we've gotten until now, the developers behind the game have been continuously updating the community on talking about patches, what's coming in the next update, what content is coming on down the line, and all that is very necessary and really keeps a community engaged in these live service games. We've seen it in games like Destiny, where when the developers go silent, that is when the community starts wildly speculating on things and going off the deep end trying to figure out what the heck is going on. So I do want them to continue down the path that they've set, and if they do so, if they haven't given us the old bait and switch, and what I mean by that is we've seen it in the past with other games where they'll communicate a lot at first to get everybody engaged, everyone involved, and then once the game has started rolling, they pull that back, and now all of a sudden we're left wanting for what they want, what we want to know is going on with the game. So that's something that hopefully they're able to continue going forward, because I think that would be massively helpful and continue on with the success of the game that we've seen so far. It is a game that I think does have a long-term future if they continue down this road, but that remains to be seen. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, hit the like button. If you want to see more the First Descendant content from me going forward, like, comment, subscribe, all that kind of good stuff. My name is Jopa. Have a good one. I'll catch you all later.